you want to introduce yourself?
So I'm Tan Wen.
So my name's Hannah Phillipson.
Hello, I'm Simon Shaw.
So my name's Selena.
Hi, so my name's James Hanna.
Hello, I'm Catherine.
My name's Miss or Emily, and I teach maths in a school in Liverpool.
Yeah, so sustainability is really interwoven within our curriculum. So it starts at year 7 when we do stuff on rainforests, how that's managed. But then at the end of year 9, our final topic is actually how sustainable is HLA, the school that I work at. So that includes looking at the offshore wind farm that there is in Blackpool. It's looking at on the school site, we've got solar panels, we've got a grey water system, so we look at how that collects rainwater and how that's used, and then they have to come up with the next step to make Highfield more sustainable, and that piece of work finishes with a letter to the Trust explaining what they do next. Currently we're trying to save energy as a school, so we've installed solar panels in the school, replaced all the lighting with LED lighting, actively taking the blinds off in the summer, turning off the lights, put plastic bottle recycling bins in the school, paper recycling bins in the school, like meat-free Mondays for vegan options to try and reduce our carbon footprint at school. We've got a vegan patch now in the garden, so we're growing vegetables this year. Every school's going to have a DT project now, so they're going to actually make a meal from those vegetables. And we're trying to fundraise for a greenhouse as well to make it like a permanent fixture.
Oh, sounds great.
Here at conference, I'm going to be talking about how to green schools, which I've been doing for the last year or so, in terms of things like solar panels, looking at integrating digital systems into schools in terms of the radiators, etc., so we can remove fossil fuels and hopefully take our schools some way towards becoming carbon neutral, and ideally in the future to actually make it carbon negative. We'll actually give electricity back to the grid and they can pay us for it. So that's what I'm here for.
So my interest in sustainability definitely was sparked by students. It had always been somewhere in me. I'd always had a care for the planet and for people. But I think my real light bulb moment was when I had some students that came up to me and they said, "Miss, what are you doing?" And this was while they were at the Student Strikes for Climate on the Fridays. And it was kind of like, whoa, you're totally right. What am I doing? So that's kind of where it began. I would say your first step should be finding some other people that kind of are on the same wavelength as you, and making sure that you're kind of building that community, whether that's with students or with staff. I think one of the great things about doing this role is that actually students are your allies in this, and so it doesn't always need to be that you need to have found a member of staff that's totally on board.
Yes, and it's not easy. So schools are quite rigid. Schools tend to be exam factories. They're results driven. So trying to suggest anything that's outside the narrow confines of the syllabuses that the exam boards set up is difficult, but always trying to stretch that. So for instance, I'm teaching a unit on crime and deviance at the moment. We need to include corporate crime and green crimes, and they're just about edging onto the curriculum, but it needs far more push than that. And I think the biggest scope for doing stuff on both issues, the refugee issue and the climate issue, is outside the constraints of the curriculum. So extracurricular activities, you've got far more flexibility to do things. Debates, bringing in speakers, I'll be inviting you later on. And launching initiatives like we're on the edge of Epping Forest, and this sounds a little bit like Yogi Bear, but getting the ranger in from Epping Forest to green up the site. We've got is it 200 or 300,000 bees on site, and we're starting to produce our own honey. We're doing recycling. We've just bought a £5,000 machine at school, so we can't wean the students off using plastic, but recycling the plastic and making things like clipboards, planters for plants, and things like that from the recycled plastics, and then hopefully making the school a community hub for recycling. These aren't going to solve the problem, but all of the things are raising awareness for the generation that, as I said before, is going to confront the climate crisis.
And then, but beyond the classroom as well, though, there's lots of other things you've been doing. So I know that at the university you've been kind of helping with some of the teacher training.
Teacher training is important, so engaging that next generation of teachers to introduce the climate across the curriculum is really important, and just to get them thinking about how we can shoehorn curriculum issues into their subjects. And I'd like to make that a much wider project and get into more teacher training institutions, and that hopefully will resonate with young teachers, because it stalled, but the climate movement was reaching a momentum up until 2019. The pandemic and other factors stalled it, but re-energising that through the next generation of teachers will be important. And we're here at NEU conference in Bournemouth, always trying to get motions onto the conference floor about the climate crisis, ensuring that we got green reps in every school, going alongside the usual NEU reps, shop stewards and health and safety reps, but also making those issues a really big issue, because increasing the climate is going to impact on the infrastructure of the schools. So not last summer, the summer before last, we closed because of the heat wave, which was just extraordinary and made it impossible to teach. Making our schools fit for purpose, and that's where the union is going to play a role, because management, and I've got some sympathy for them, the budgets are stretched and there's not a lot of money to introduce to improve the infrastructure of the school, put solar panels up, but that's what we need to be fighting for all the time. I can't see it happening under this government, but we mustn't be complacent. Hopefully when we get a new government, to really put pressure on them to forward the green agenda. The Labour Party's let us down. They've reneged on that £28 million. They've stood it down, in Keir Starmer's words. I don't think the Mother Earth appreciates that Keir Starmer has stood it down, because there's other priorities, like keeping fuel in the fuel industry and keeping the petrochemical industry happy. But we've got to keep the pressure up and make that a priority.
There's loads of things you listed there that schools can do.
Too much.
But is there one thing you think that anyone going back to their schools, they should have as a priority?
I think, and I'd be interested what you think about this and people listening to this, I think there's two ways we can get young people. There's two things that they're really interested in: sport and fashion. And I know you've got a Forest Green Rovers football shirt here and they're not doing brilliant at the moment, and commiserations with that, but sport is really important, because sport is going to be increasingly impacted by the climate crisis. I know that all sorts of tennis matches have had to be, the players have been affected by the climate crisis, and playing that sport is going to be impossible. That's going to have increasing impact. And fashion, young people are really interested in fashion, and my understanding is the fashion industry has more impact on the environment than aviation. And the movement to slow fashion or using recycling clothes, I think that could really resonate with kids. So one takeaway, there's many, but if I was going to prioritise something to really get kids involved, sport and fashion, I think would be two interesting ones.
Try and get climate onto the agendas of any meetings that you're doing. Try and put it on there. But the problem coming up now, it's the heat. We're talking about the summer, aren't we? And 2 years ago we had the horrendous days of horrendous heat in classrooms. Some of ours were at 42 degrees. We need to be saying to parents and to children and to the teachers in the schools what we're going to do about it. What can we be doing for that, so that we can be discussing it, and then putting measures so we've got ventilation in classrooms and school uniform policies, but we're acting on events for the climate. So we need to be using that focus that does focus the mind, that we need to do something about the climate and think about what we can do for that.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.